All right, it's 1:30. Just a few reminders as we start this session. When we hand around the CCA and CLM spreadsheet, the CCA is on the white paper on the top. The CLM credits are on the back page, on the bright orange piece of paper. For those of you, just don't forget that the upcoming Conservation Tillage Conference annual meeting is on April 17th at 9 a.m. to noon in Kenton at the OSU Extension Office. All are invited, both in person and Zoom, to attend that. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and introduce our next speaker. Diversifying your farm using soil health to increase profits. And we have with us today Lydia Dresbach from Dresbach Farms.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Is the mic working good? And get situated. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys coming to listen and let me share a little bit about my farm. So to get started, maybe. There we go. Okay. To get started, if you came to my earlier session, it's a little bit of repetitive information here and there mixed in, but I want to start by giving credit where credit's due. And so these are my grandparents. They started our family farm. We farm about 1,200 acres in Southern Ohio, Chillicothe area. And we've been no-till since 1991. So in 1990, my grandpa went to a field day and heard the late David Brandt speak. Was so moved that he came home and cut tillage cold turkey. And we've never really looked back since. We are an all non-GMO farm and have been for about 10 years now. We use cover crops. The goal is every acre, every year. We want to keep a living root as much as possible and keep harvesting that sunlight. Also, our farm, even though it is a small number of acres, we do support 7 people full-time. And kind of the way that we look at diversification is, yes, we diversify our covers as well, but we want to also diversify our income streams. So my grandpa made the rule that as a grandchild, if you want to come back, you have to bring an enterprise because the farm as a traditional commodity operation can't sustain just adding people without either 1, adding acres or 2, adding revenue streams. So he really pushed us to add the revenue streams. The revenue streams are added based on these soil health principles. So I just kind of put up what they are so you can see them. Minimal disturbance, no-till, keeping the soil armored, keeping a continuous living root, increasing biodiversity, and integrating livestock. And that's a picture of some of our soil. So when my grandpa started out, we farm river bottom ground, so it's pretty sandy soil. He went digging and could find no earthworms. Our organic matter for reference was, I'm going to be gracious and say about 1%. We had it sampled by the ECDISIS Regenerative Agriculture Research Foundation 2 years ago, and this field, which is the longest in our management, is up to 7.5% organic matter. So what's our farm goal? Our goal is to provide our community with nutrient-dense foods that we've been entrusted to care for and grown in a way that's symbiotic with nature, where we're stewarding well our soil, our plants, and our livestock. So what does that look like at our farm? This is a comprehensive list of the 22 different revenue streams or enterprises that we have going on right now at the farm. So I'm kind of going to walk through each one so you can kind of see what it looks like and get a snapshot of a little bit of what our farm looks like. It's a mess most days, but the things that we've chosen to add really work together. So it's hard to differentiate and pull to say which one is the most successful because we designed it to work together. So we'll start with the traditional commodity crops. We grow soybeans, corn, winter wheat, all non-GMO. We're no-till followed by covers in all the systems. This allows us to grind our own livestock feed and to sell deer corn off the farm as well. For the corn, we're a non-GMO hybrid. For the soybeans, we're actually doing a public variety. And we've transitioned to where we can work on the epigenetics of keeping our own seed. We also do a lot with heritage grains. So there's a list of the things we are either currently growing or have grown in the last couple of years that are being direct marketed to the community via a local flour mill. So we do spelt, we do Appalachian hard white wheat, a Rouge de Bordeaux, which is a French heritage wheat, red fife hard wheat, einkorn wheat, blue claridge open pollinated corn, silver king den open pollinated corn. So the way that these are marketed is something pretty cool that David Brandt started and his family has continued. It's a local grain hub of regenerative farmers who are selling under the same brand. So I don't have to market all of my grains, which is really nice. So we grow and then the grains go to Brandt Family Farms. They clean, dehull, get them ready to be milled. Then they're milled on site. And another couple has taken over that and they brand under the local millers. So they're really pushing into that local grain market, which has been something that hasn't been overly prevalent in Ohio until recent years. And so they want to really bridge that gap between farmer to miller to consumer. Let's see. So what does that look like for us? We get to partner with them in some events on our farm, which the Heritage Grain event dinner was something new that we did last year, and we actually had dinner in the field. So I think it's really powerful to be able to eat out in your field in a safe way and be able to have the bakers come in and see that what practices you're using, talk them through. And so we did a potluck style. We just popped up tents and tables out in a waterway in the middle of the wheat field that had the different varieties of our heritage grains. We ate together first because everything's centered around good food. And then we did a tour. So here's some pictures from the Heritage Grain Tour. So we had some of the other farmers in the grain hub come as well. And we did a field walk. We looked at the different varieties. So in these pictures, there's the einkorn wheat, the Rouge de Bordeaux, some soft red wheat, and I think the red fife. But we really talked about what our farming practices look like to help build that transparency of here's what we're doing, here's why. We believe in these practices, which is really cool. John's holding up a clump of soil with a giant earthworm hole in it when in 1990, my grandpa couldn't find any earthworms on our farm. We also do a little bit of custom work. So we have native grass cedar, so we can do those. We do food plots, we do mowing, cover crop drilling, and pollinator plots for some local smaller producers. We like to do value-added products where we can. So we bought a soybean roaster, which allows us to sell our soybeans for a higher premium. So we roast it as the protein source in a lot of our livestock feeds that we are grinding ourselves, but we also supply a local feed mill that's a non-GMO mill with roasted beans, which they buy by the bulk bag. We can also sell them to other livestock producers. We supply a local dairy with their roasted beans as well, and to deer hunters. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about sunflowers. So sunflowers follow our wheat crop as a double crop. So we want to create that biodiversity. And so the sunflowers are the tall species, and everything we put in with them is shorter. That way we can harvest the tops of the sunflowers and then graze what's left with our cattle. And the seeds are a great non-GMO protein source. We also have a press, so you can press the oil out of the seeds, use the mill as protein source and feed, and then you can use the oil for a multitude of things. We have soap makers that buy it, but we've also made it into biodiesel and ran through our equipment in years past. And it's a great agritourism event. So we really want to bridge that gap with consumers. And so we're constantly inviting people to the farm. Sunflowers bloom really pretty for about 10 to 14 days. So that's what our time frame for when we open for the sunflowers. We allow photographers to come in and do sessions we charge them a setting fee per evening. They can book as many sessions as they want for that evening. I don't have to worry about it. They pay me $100 an evening and they can do their pictures. We also open it and want to make it a family event. So we charge $5 per person for 13 and up, trying to encourage families to come experience the farm and see what we're doing. We usually have wagon rides. We bring the chickens out and let the kids feed the chickens some of our produce scraps. And we can kind of set up a mobile farmers market with our other products we're selling as well. So here's some pictures of sunflowers over the years from photographers and from just our personal. It's a lot of fun because when people come to see flowers on your farm, they're usually not angry thinking and attacking your farming practices. So we really get to talk about, well, what else is out there? What do you see? We have another local Filipino community that comes in and they pay to get in to see the sunflowers, but they buy radishes and turnips that they pick out of the field. It's part of the mix as well. It's been really good for us just to get that community involvement. So here's our sunflower press. There is a video. I do not know if it'll play. Yes. So the seeds gravity feed in from the gravity wagon at the top. They go in, the oil's pressed out, and the mill falls off to the side. So we've got a tote that goes up under there that catches it. And you just use a pallet jack to pull those out as it fills. The oil then goes down this really small tray into a larger catch basin where the sediment can settle to the bottom and the clean oil will rise to the top. The clean oil then goes through the hole in the top at the side and drains into a tank. And you just sub those out as needed. But this is a way that we can add value and help pay for that sunflower seed as well. We are big advocates of rotational grazing. So we're grazing covers as much as we can. These are pictures of the cattle out on sunflowers, on some of our spring covers. It's a good mix. So this year we were able to take some of our sunflower production acres out and put in a mix that was heavier on forage so that we were able to graze through the drought because we were in the area of the D4 drought. So we were able to not have to feed hay the 1st of August, which was nice. And so the diversity and the double crop there lets us have that flexibility to make those changes as we see the dry weather's coming and kind of plan for that accordingly. Our cattle operation. So we've sold quarters, halves, and wholes occasionally until about 7 years ago. 7 years ago, we really sat down and we evaluated what we wanted our direct marketing to look like on the farm. So what does it look like now? We still do the quarters, halves, and wholes, but they're few and far between because a lot of people in our community can afford about $100 in protein a week. So we really switched to adding that $100 bundle based on our inventory, which is just we take $100 of product and we put it together and we call it a bundle. It's things like if we have a lot of roast, it might be a roast bundle, might be a burger bundle, or it's things like a crock pot bundle if it's winter and just helping people get ideas of how to use it. We also sell direct by the cut. So like you can stop in at our farm store and just buy a pound of hamburger if that's what you need. We also supply a local restaurant with burger. We're on their menu. They do a great job of publicizing that they're supporting local and really pushing into supporting farmers who we are and our growing practices. And we've also do online sales now, but you can order online, but pickup is at the farm. So we don't have we're not selling meat too much at a farmer's market or anything. Most of it is on farm pickup. We're not shipping at this time. So the top right corner is a picture of those burgers from that restaurant. So we're able to, when we are busy in the fields and we need to order something quick, we'll order stuff from them, pick it up, come back, take a snapshot and advertise them on our page as well. So it really helps with that cross marketing. So the top left is a picture of the cattle grazing this August during a D4 drought. So we had quality forage for a lot of our mama cows, which I know was a big problem. Our pastures were burning up. So this really helped us make it through that tough time. The middle picture at the top is my cousin Nova. And so we're really pushing into involving kids in our operation. We want to inspire that next generation to take ownership and have an active role in where their food comes from, how it's grown. So we do a lot with adding kids in where we can. We also like to calve on covers. So the middle bottom picture is one of the calves from last spring where we're calving, believe that is triticale. It's really nice. It's cut down sickness in the calves. Calves are a lot cleaner, a lot healthier, in my opinion, because they're able to mat down a big area in the cover crop, have the calf, and we're doing daily moves when it comes to that. Our laying hens. So we do mobile chicken trailers. We generally move those every 3 to 5 days instead of daily, just because it's so hard to move. We don't have a great system. You got to put up the netting fence and whatnot. But we supply eggs to at least one restaurant. We're looking at getting into another right now. We also sell direct to consumer and at the farmer's market. So where do we start with the chickens? This was the original idea. So we took an old stock trailer because we have acquired a lot of things that just sit around the farm. And so we like to repurpose where we can. So this was an old stock trailer we ripped the floor out of. We put in a mesh metal grate in the bottom so that the chicken litter falls through. Nesting boxes on the side, roosting bars, and then you can see the netting of how we move them. Then we decided to expand. So my brother researched and decided he wanted to build a mobile chicken trailer. So this is the upgraded version. So it has best nesting boxes so the hens can lay inside, the eggs roll to the outside. You don't have to get in the trailer to collect them. They've got mats in the bottom that are removable that you can clean to help keep it sanitized a little better. And then you can see we got roosting bars, also has that mesh floor so the litter falls through. And then in 23, this is my youngest brother's enterprise. So he decided to do a chicken expansion and he bought an entire operation out of Cincinnati, which is about 2.5 hours from us. So they wagon rode it down and then they trailed back going super slow with all those mobile coops full of chickens because it came with 800 birds. And I had customers calling saying, hey, we just saw you guys going down the road. It's like, yeah, we've been on the road a while. And so it's been really good. And so we didn't design those trailers, but they work really well. They're a little easier for us to maneuver around with, and they allowed us to add the restaurant with the consistent laying. Then last winter, we were having a lot of predator issues. And so I got to talking at one of the conferences like this, and a friend of mine at a regenerative farm says, hey, my dog's going to have pups. It'll probably be next year, but like, we're going to breed her. And then in January, he calls me and says, we had an oops, and so we've got pups if you want any. So I ended up buying 2 chicken livestock guardian dogs. So they were born in a chicken pen from a regenerative system, the same way we run our hens. And they came to ours and they live with the chickens all the time. They can get in the trailers, they can get up under them if they want to get out of the weather and whatnot. But they've been a game changer for us in protection. This winter alone, they've killed 3 raccoons. They will kill possums, skunks, anything coming to get the eggs or the chickens. They've also cut down on the hawk pressure because when you get a regenerative system going, you get a lot of wildlife coming back. And so chicken hawks are one of those species that really like to eat hens. So the dogs have helped really cut down on the death loss there. And so they're a little over a year old now. They love people, but they know their job is to stay with the chickens too. We added meat birds in 21. So we used the Cornish crossbreed. We built our own brooder houses, and we do the Joel Salatin style chicken houses or tractors that we move. The first year we decided we were going to butcher them all ourselves and sell them as whole birds. Then our customers started asking for cuts. So now we take some to a butcher where we get the cuts that we can sell. So like sell by chicken breasts, chicken wings, chicken thighs, things like that. And then all of the whole birds we are still doing ourselves. So we'll butcher the whole birds and sell off the farm that way. So they finish in about 8 to 10 weeks. And we've slowly been increasing our number as demand increases. You don't want to just jump in and get a ton and have no market. So you want to grow slow with this kind of thing. So in the early days, the bottom picture there has, and the top, I guess, are the brooders. So you can see they look like miniature houses and both sides open up so you can get into them. So we've got our heat lamps in there. We order chicks and get them as day olds. They're in that brooder for 3 to 4 weeks, depending on weather. If it's got a big rain coming, I'm not going to move them right out. We want them to have a smooth transition to grass. And then that middle picture there is what they look like. They're real ugly, but when you move them right out onto pasture. Once they're in the tractors, we move them once a day on the pasture for the first 2 weeks. The last 2 to 3 weeks of their life, we move them twice a day, just so they're getting fresh bugs and greenery that they can eat. We also supply them with grains that we've grown. So we started at 500 birds. We're doing 1,000 birds this year to sell direct to consumer. So our prices are kind of up there. If we butcher it, I sell it for $20 a bird. If I have to haul it to the nearest poultry butcher, which is 2.5 hours from our farm one way, then the price, like by the cut, factors into about $35 a bird, because it has to include their processing fee and the fuel to go up, drop them off, come back, go back up and get the meat, etc. So that's kind of our price breakdown on that. We also do feeder hogs. So we started this due to customer demand. So we sell by the cut for those. We've not done any quarters or halves or anything like that for hogs. We found a breeder in 23 that's farrowing for us. And we switched straight to his Berkshires because that is what our customers are asking for. So the goal is to silvopasture these and reclaim some wooded areas across the farm for pasture. We'll see how it goes, because training hogs to electric and finding time for that, that's the holdup, is finding the time to actually get them trained, because if we let them out in the woods, it could be bad real quick. So that's the goal for this year. We also have perennial plants. So we have an apple orchard. We do elderberries. We do blackberries, raspberries, strawberries on a very small scale. This is not commercial. So for the apple trees, we have about 200 trees. We have them in a trellis system. I do not recommend, if you are doing a regenerative system, if I were to do this again, they would not be in a trellis system. You don't know what you don't know until you're in it. And those are planted and they're rooted, so they're going to stay that way, but I would not recommend this. So the strawberry plants are under the first 100, and we're slowly taking the starts from those and moving them. Just for that added biodiversity in the orchard. We mulch really heavy. We also we got a old used reefer semi-trailer. We built a room in the front half and put a cool bot in, so we have refrigeration to keep the apples once we harvest in the fall, until we decide what we're going to do with them. We also have elderberries. So we started with 100 cuttings of the Bob Gordon variety. And so they're mixed in with the apple tree. So we have 2 rows of apple trees, a row of elderberry, 2 rows of apple trees, 2 rows of elderberry. So they're all kind of in the same area on the farm. And so you can prune those up each spring, take the cuttings and expand as much as your heart desires. But we destem them and freeze the berries, which you can sell, or you can sell elderberries in Ohio under cottage food laws as jellies, jams, things like that, without having a commercial kitchen. We make an elixir for ourselves when we're sick and things like that. We also trialed 3 different varieties this year: a Pocahontas, a Ranch, and a Wildwood. The Pocahontas did substantially better than the other 2 varieties, but the Bob Gordon still outperforms those. We also have shiitake mushrooms on the farm. You can see we've inoculated a lot of logs, and they come off for us to direct market as well. And we do seasonal produce. This started out as just our family garden. Our goal was to feed ourselves and our community, and the community just kept asking for more. So we just kept expanding. So we're doing about 4 acres of seasonal produce right now. We sell it at the farmer's market. We sell it at the farm. And then this opened the door for what we call our farm to table events, because we were already growing the protein sources. This allows us to grow the side dishes that you have when you're putting together a meal. What does our garden look like? This is kind of where we started. We use a lot of covers as weed suppression. So this is cereal rye. I do a super thick spreading in the fall, grows about 6 foot tall, and I use a 2x4 and I stomp it down. And then I can separate and put my plug in when I'm starting that. If we do any tillage, we immediately come back in with cover. So for the green beans, we come back in with cardboard first and then straw on top of it. And it cuts down on the hand weeding because I don't use any synthetics. I don't use any chemistry in our produce production. And here's just some pictures of what we grow. There's too many things to list in the small produce production part. The top picture is my grandpa kind of at our farm setup where we first started selling on the porch. We've got a hoop house that's not heated that I can do some extended growing in as well. And we put pollinators in. So I've got pictures of flowers in as much as we can for the insects. This year we transitioned to an honor system for our produce. So we do sell it during store hours and bulk orders and things like that. But every day throughout the growing season, we keep this restocked. People can stop in. They can pay on Venmo. They can leave money in the cash box. And whatnot. And so that has been a game changer because that's not us having manpower there all the time waiting on to see if people stop. They can just stop in, pick up what they need and go. That room that I was talking about for the apples that we put the cool bot in that keeps it cool also works really well if you put a space heater in it to do your starts. So we use it in the spring because we don't have apples in there. And so right now I've got rows of my produce starts going in there that I mix the soil mixture together and get things going so that we can plant them when it's warm enough outside. We do have honey that we offer from the farm. And so we have an outside beekeeper because everyone in my family besides myself is allergic and I do not have time to keep bees. So we partnered with the local beekeeper. He keeps hives on us, so 32 hives on us and 2 to 3 hubs throughout the farm, which he loves because we've got something blooming all of the time with the covers and the pollinators. But I love it because he keeps all of my honey separate. He bottles it for me. I have to call him, put in my order, pick it up, slap a label on it, and it's good to go because it's from our farm. So it's worked really well for that. It allows us to offer that product without us having to do so much of the legwork of producing it. And it allows for local collaborations and marketing. Every time he's out checking on the bees, he's taking a picture, posting it, especially when the cows are around the hives and they're watching him work. It just works well for him to be able to promote us as a local farm and us to be able to promote his business as well. We offer merchandise. So we've got our own hats, t-shirts, handcrafted mugs from a local pottery store, as well as our own farm cookbook that came from our farm events. Our newest addition this winter was whipped tallow balm. So we have our cosmetic license. And so we're able to take the beef fat, which our butcher would usually throw away and pay to dispose of. We get it back and we get all of our bones back. And so I render down the fat, and usually to make the tallow balm, you have to render it 3 to 4 times. Once it's rendered, you can add your carrier oil and your other scents if you're wanting to make it scented, and get that done. So I've got a picture of kind of our unscented label there that we created. This seems to be kind of a buzz right now, and I've had 2 hair salons reach out and they're carrying this in their shops. So for a 2-ounce bottle, we're selling that for $20. So to put that in retrospect, I have maybe $7 in it. So this has been a really good addition to where we're taking something that was waste and is now a value-added product. This is my cousin Catherine. She has a photography business. Most of the pictures in this presentation are from her. She does a fantastic job. She doesn't live on the farm, but she was able to use her own enterprise, which is her photography business, and she's able to use the farm as a place to come and do photos for families and things like that. In exchange for her being able to come and have clients and do all the pictures she wants, she does a lot of our farm marketing pictures. So it's a really good trade. And I think she does a great job. We have guided deer hunting on our farm. So we grow deer with cover crops because there's a constant food source there. We also have about 600 acres of native grasses on our farm. So the habitat's there. This can bring in forms of revenue for the farm in terms of leases. So he doesn't just, this is my middle brother, Isaiah. So he doesn't just get to guide hunts for free. No, he pays the farm to be able to guide on the ground. He's also been able to pay for in full our farm store, which also functions as the hunting lodge, and I live in it. So it's a multi-purpose space in 7 years' time. So it's a 40 by 80 two-story pole barn. This also increases the amount of corn we're able to sell direct to consumer for deer purposes. So Isaiah himself with his leases goes through about 4 semi-loads that he's buying by the 50-pound bag from us. And then he also has contacts because he's well known in the hunting community for people that come to the farm to buy. He's also able to pay other farmers in our area to lease their ground. When the hunters come to hunt with Isaiah, I manage the lodge. All of the protein is from the farm. So the farm is getting paid for them to eat. I also preserve a lot of the vegetables and things for the side dishes. If they do not get a deer, a lot of times they'll just take home beef instead. So it's a win-win. And here's some pictures of the deer that have been killed in recent years. The top left is in our standing sunflower cover in the fall. So I just think it's really cool. He doesn't realize how much the farming adds to his business because he's all about deer hunting. He tolerates the farming. I know that what we're doing is helping his business immensely. And then I put this up there for revenue because looking at profitability, the deer hunting enterprise is easily one of the most profitable. So he pays my grandparents 12 grand to lease the home farm every year. He also pays 27 grand per year for the ability to lodge and for all of the food that the hunters consume. He pays about 25 grand in deer corn each year, either that he himself buys or his contacts buy. In addition to that, he brings in about 70 grand for himself, either that he can use in other leases, his side-by-side payments, business expenses, etc. So in Southern Ohio, deer hunting is a big thing. And so mostly we do out-of-state hunters. So it's not a lot of local hunters coming in, but we're bringing in quite a few hunters each year. The direct marketing of everything. So we use social media. That's kind of where we started. So I've got kind of our Facebook, which is where most of the traction comes from. We are transitioning websites so that they'll be able to order, but we really want to lean into that come and see philosophy for the farm. We want people to be educated in what we're doing and why it should matter to them. And we want to take a community-centered approach. So we do, which we'll get to eventually, we do field trips. We do things that are pouring into our community outside of the sunflowers as well. Because our farm goal is to really pour in and build that community of local food being grown. We do have weekly emails, and if you'd like to follow along, you can find us on Facebook under Dressback Farms or Instagram. So this talks about our farm to table dinners. So this is the produce really let us start doing these. So the pictures of this building is the hunting lodge / farm store, our multi-purpose space, right? So when we have a dinner, I can fit 10 to 12 people around the island with their cutting boards comfortably. So that's where we cap it at. So usually the dinners, we start about 6 in the evening and go until dark. And it's cooked with products from the farm. My mom, who's pictured at the green shirt on the right and the one talking in the apron on the left, she designs the menu. So it's a seasonally based menu, whatever we have coming off in the gardens. And so it's different every week that we have it, which makes it hard for everyone else, but she loves it. This lets her get creative. And so we usually do 12 to 16 different dishes. We realized that in our community, a lot of people didn't know how to cook a whole chicken or how to cook with whole ingredients in general. And so this kind of helps us with that education part, but also have a farm experience as well. So we include a farm tour after we're finished eating. We eat buffet style all together. And then at the end, they can purchase products to take home. This wouldn't be possible without our community. These are the kitchen workers, and these are all volunteer. These people believe in the way we're farming. They're excited about what we're doing. They're excited about the opportunity for whole ingredients. So they volunteer their time to come help us do dishes, clean, and get everything done for these meals. So what does it look like? We cook together. So everyone gets knives and cutting boards. We set out all of the produce in bowls, cleaned beforehand. She goes through all the recipes and we eat. You can kind of see the bottom right picture has kind of a snapshot of one of the 12 to 16 different dish dinners that she puts together. And then Dad and I get to do a farm tour. So the first piece of farm equipment that I bought when I came back to the farm was this people hauler wagon because I wanted to bring our community onto the farm in a safe way. So our farm store is about 2 miles down the road from where the main operation hub is. So we've got to wagon them down to kind of do the tour part. So usually Dad and I co do this. He drives a tractor, he'll stop, get out, and we'll talk. I usually talk while we're driving. Sometimes if it's too windy, they can't hear me, so we wait till we stop. But what do we look at? Usually we've done tours. Each tour is different. You never know who's going to show up or book an event. We've had groups of doctors come in from the local hospital. We've had church groups come in. So each tour is different, and we kind of tailor it to what those who have bought tickets kind of want to see, what they want to learn about. So we do our compost tea some. We've done Johnson's food bioreactors with them. We've toured the orchards, cattle, the meat operations, the soybean roaster, the grain fields, but each one's different. And then we added farm to community events. So the farm to table are the small intimate dinners. The farm to communities are for bigger groups. So we cap this at about 50 people. And we do more of a catered style. So we have our catering license. So we go ahead and prepare the food ahead of time. Everyone comes in, we eat together. And then we get to go do a farm tour. But these we like to design around a specific topic. So we'll advertise one. We do a grain night. And so for that one, the local millers will come in, and after the tour of the wheat fields, they will talk through their entire milling process and how the stone mill works and how the brand's still in the wheat and all of that. We've done a cover crop night where we went out and toured the sunflower fields and talked about all the mixes in there. And then they have the opportunity to purchase products as well. So there are some pictures kind of what that looks like. We integrated live music there. So there's my cousin playing a violin throughout the evening. The top left is kind of hard to see, but that's Ann Brandt. We were doing the cover crop walk, and she just pulled down a cowpea that had a root that was 2 foot long. And she was just kind of talking about what that looks like. We've got a kind of a picture of the meal that we would provide. So usually a protein, usually any of the breads or carbs that are provided are made from our grains. So we really try to connect every part of the meal back to the farm in some way. This is super kid friendly too. Whereas the cooking class with knives is not overly kid friendly. We also do some educational tours. So this is a group of teachers that Shawnee State College called, and they said, hey, we've got a program that we want to put together for summer elementary school program, and they want it to be farming themed. But we have all these new teachers, and they have no background knowledge as to what farming looks like. Can we come for a day and see what you guys are doing? The university paid us $100 a person for them to come and spend a day with us. They ate on the farm. They got to set up in our farm store and kind of brainstorm and put their curriculum together. I also have an elementary education degree, so that is kind of in my wheelhouse to help with. We took them out because they came during planting time, and we took them to a field we had just planted in corn and roller crimped it in front of them. So they got to fully experience rye as it's pollinating, getting tramped down. And the top right picture, that girl had never held a baby chick, which is something I've taken for granted because we've always had them on the farm. We also do some farmer to farmer educational tours. So last year we had the Green Acres Foundation bring a group of beginner farmers out to the farm, and we spent the day with them. walking around. We dug in the cover crop fields. We made some compost tea. We also are next to a very conventional farm who had just harvested potatoes. And if you've been to a field that has harvested potatoes, you know it's pretty desolate afterwards. And so they really got to see what that looks like compared to the growing cover crops and other crops that we had in next to it. And then we added field trips because, like I said, my background is in elementary education. I don't have a farming degree at all, but I know how to deal with kids. And so a local teacher had reached out to us and asked us to put together a field trip based on their STEM program, science, technology, engineering, math, and how that relates to farming. So we did one 2 years ago, and then this past year we ended up doing three. Because once schools find out that you allow kids to come in, they seem to really enjoy it. We do charge for these. We charge $10 a kid because schools will pay that, if not more, for kids to go to COSI. Why shouldn't they pay for the time that I have to take a part during planting season? Because usually it's during our planting time to take a day to put this together. So I think we had 150 and 70, two groups of 70, so roughly 300 kids out to the farm last year. So the way we kind of organize this is stations. And so we designed a station for equipment where dad gets to talk about, and we set out all kinds of equipment and they talk through how they're used. I usually run the composting station. So we talk about vermicompost, composting bins at home, how to make the compost tea. My aunt runs a planting station, so they actually get to help us plant some of our seasonal produce. So we had one school plant all of our tomato plants in the raised bed. We had another group come in and do our zucchini, squash, and green beans. And then we got to post all summer about how their plants were growing so they could keep up with the things that they were doing and whatnot. We have a station for our meat birds, so the kids get to see how we're raising meat. We have a cattle station. The kids get to learn how we build electric fence paddocks and what goes into that. Obviously, it's not on, but they get to put posts in and run the wire and whatnot. And then we do a farmer's market station, which we just get to talk to them about, where does your food come from? Where are places you can look to? Can you go to the farmer's market in town and connect with those that are raising food? And different ways that they can kind of question where their food comes from rather than just it comes from the grocery store, So these are some pictures from that. We had a baby calf out there they got to hang out with. And these are all volunteer based too. So a lot of this is our farm employees. However, the lady in the green overalls, her and her husband farm close to us. And so she's a retired art teacher and she misses the kids. And so she offers to come help at whatever we're putting on, which has been great. So kind of in conclusion, stacking enterprises can increase efficiency and revenue streams, and it's customizable. You don't have to do any of these or all of them. It's a mess most days. These are things that are working on our operation that we've slowly added over the last 10 years. But it also gives something of ownership to that next generation that's coming back. It's like, I own my own cattle herd that we run here outside of the family farm. So it really, when you're in charge and have ownership over something, it really increases that buy-in and it increases the profitability per acre. So there's my contact information. My phone number is also the business number. So if you ever call or text me and I don't get back to you within a week, call again, text again. Sometimes things get lost in translation, just with what all we're juggling. But if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I know that's kind of quick. We do small scale watermelons just because my cousin Rhett loves them. He calls them water melons and all of them are his. We do, yeah. Oh my. It's a lot. I don't know why they chose me to talk about it. I'm not a great public speaker, but they decided that this is what I needed to do. So I get to share our story and I'm honored to do that, but it's still super nerve-wracking for me. What was your question? Yeah. Hmm. No, we had really bad sunflower harvest. Uh, and the guy that is buying the oil right now is paying $12 a gallon. So I would much rather sell it for $12 a gallon and not have to go through the process of turning it into biodiesel. Soap. He's making soap. He's a small soap maker. Yep. So we like to partner with local businesses as much as we can. So he's just a local guy that he makes soap and sells it. Yeah.
I have a mundane question, but how much do you, like your tours and stuff get affected by weather and things like that? How do you handle rainy days, stuff like that for when you're trying to do?
Yeah. So I'm lucky in the fact that one, I have these presentations that if they don't want to go out, if it's raining, we can do this at the TV at our farm store. However, there has only ever been one group that didn't go out, and it was because it was their third time coming. And that's the group of doctors. They come every year. And they just wanted to sit and talk to us about how it would impact the health of their patients and how they can implement our stuff. We have had people bring ponchos and we go out in the rain and get soaked to the bone. So it's really up to them. Obviously, lightning, we're probably going to stay inside, but we've been very fortunate that that hasn't happened too much. Yeah. How do we harvest the sunflowers in the cover crop mix? We have tried several different ways. We used to use the grain or the bean head that had the auger in it, and they kept hitting. They have to go one way and they'd pop out. We've borrowed someone's sunflower head with the pans, but that was a haul to get it and get back. So we have a draper head that we use for our beans, and we just run it with that now. Yeah. Yeah. Nope. We calve in May, April, May. So my grandpa's original herd was Gelbvieh, so they were super big. We are trying to bring that frame size down. So my herd of Red Angus are very small. And so right now in the transition years, they're finishing at different times, which makes it work really well for our system. But I mean, we've talked about year-round calving. I don't want to calve in the snow or the mud. I like calving with nature and comparable to like when the fawns are being born. So I don't know that we'll change that. But right now it's working for us. Any other questions? Yeah.
You know, only good right going there's crossover there. Somebody's got to ride through them.
I can't hear you.
You got to have somebody coordinates all this, right?
Yeah, that would be me. So I get to coordinate the chaos as well as my dad. So I am being groomed in our kind of the dynamic. My grandparents still have final say in everything. We have a monthly farm meeting and we walk through everything with them so that they're well informed and they get final say in the decision making. My dad is current manager. So day-to-day operations, that's his role. I will take over that role when he is done, if that makes sense, or when he doesn't want to do it anymore. Right now, we're doing things together. So I got to learn really hard, really fast what happens when he's not accessible to me. Because during COVID, he got double lung pneumonia and was down the entire harvest, and I did it by myself. I started asking questions, and at that point, we weren't having family meetings. So I go and I said, okay, well, where am I ordering the wheat seed from? It's not here. What do I need? Well, nobody had any answers. So I just am very fortunate that the people we work with took me under their wing and kind of talked through what they had talked about with my dad. But I got a rude awakening that there's a lot I don't know. So now we make decisions together. When it comes to varieties of row crop, I made the decisions this year. He was there and talked me through, but I'm making those decisions. They still get okayed by grandpa. And so it's a learning curve. Transition's never really easy. And trust me, it's not smooth at our place. My grandparents are 86 and they're aging right now. But the family meetings have helped, just keeping them informed because they're not involved as much in the day-to-day as they were when I came back originally. Yeah. Yeah, so COVID was a big eye opener for us in that regard. Because our butcher booked up and I had calves that were ready to go. And at that point, we were just scheduling as needed. They weren't overly booked. Well, let me tell you now, I have everything booked for the next year and a half for my beef. I make sure, and the local partners we have, so our local butcher is phenomenal in working with us as producers. So if you're trying to do this, you need to find those people because they will take care of me if I'm in a pinch. Which has happened more times than I should admit. But really, our community has been a driving force behind it too, because they are looking for connection to where their food comes from, which I didn't realize how far kids are removed from it until I started going into the schools again. So I've been able to go in and do some like 1-day presentations of how plants, wheat, can become cookies because there is no correlation there. They don't understand that a plant can then become food they're eating that they would buy at the grocery store. So there is a large knowledge gap there that I think as farmers, it's our responsibility to help kind of close, even when it's an uncomfortable conversation. Because the first time a kid in a field trip stood up after eating roast beef and said, "Did we just eat that cow's kid?" You got to take a minute, right? And so you get to have the hard conversations that are, yes, however, that meat fulfilled its purpose. Its purpose was to provide us with nutrient dense food, which you all consumed. And look out there, are the calves or the cows happy? Are they content? Did they have a good life? And so kind of talking through those has been, it's a challenge, but it's also really rewarding in what we do as well. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, so we're about 30 minutes from Chillicothe. Oh yeah, I mean, if we were closer to, say, Columbus, well, it would be a whole different ballpark. We're also not shipping, so we're supplying our local community, and I'm in a pretty rural, pretty economically hardened county. So our prices are intentionally low because our goal is to feed our community. We're still making a profit, but I'm keeping our prices as low as we can because that is our farm goal. Yeah. Yep. So for a farm store, it's in the gray barn that we had said. And so right now I have designated store hours. So we are open Wednesdays 5 to 7, Fridays 3 to 5, Saturdays 9 to noon. And then I can do custom pickups on Mondays at 5 because that's what works with my schedule. So usually I'm there. My brother is covering for me today because I will not be back in time for store hours. But we keep those hours open. People can pre-order if they're in a hurry. We can have that pulled. They can show up. We can put it in their car. They can leave, or they can come in and shop and talk with us. And we have a wide variety of both. I do all of our bulk sales on pre-orders though, and I require a 10% down payment because that just makes people pick it up. And actually, like, if they've already paid 10% down, they're not going to back out at the last minute and you're stuck with a half a beef that you don't have freezer space for. So for bulk orders, I do that on a pre-order basis. And we're about 2 months out for my pre-orders right now on bulk sales. Yeah. There's a structure for when they pass. Right now, what I explained is kind of the system we're doing. So there are 15 grandkids. All have the opportunity to come back if they want to. There are currently 3 of us that chose to come back. And that's okay because everyone else is thriving in what they're doing and it might not be their passion. The 3 of us that are back are myself, my middle brother, and my youngest brother. So, which I think it helps that, my dad's been the manager and we've seen what goes into it. When I graduated college, I was not planning to farm. I have a teaching degree and a ministry degree, and I was coming back to fundraise to move to Honduras to work at a bilingual school and work with the homeless ministry. I came back from student teaching abroad in Honduras, and my grandparents sat me down and said, you know, when your dad's done, we need someone that can do his job. Because my middle brother, even though he's on the farm some, he's very much in the deer hunting, and he's gone during harvest because bow season overlaps with harvest. So he couldn't do it. And my youngest brother, he has apraxia. And so he does really good with his enterprises, but isn't able to manage on that high of a scale. So I made the decision, you know, I can't imagine not having the farm to come back to. And so I guess it's been almost 8 years now. I said, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And I want to learn from grandpa and dad when we do this. And at times I've taken a full-time off the farm job to supplement. When COVID hit, I came back to the farm because my dad still has severe lung issues. He can't be in the dust. He can't, which farming in dust, right? If it's foggy or it's humid, he can't breathe outside. So he's still doing a lot of the managing. It's just his day-to-day operations have changed a lot, and I've taken on more of that role. So as far as a plan, we don't have one. I would say the earlier the better in terms of transition. I wouldn't, even though we have a plan in place for when something happens to my grandparents, it would be better to have that transition done before they're gone and before they start aging to the point of memory loss. So I would definitely encourage, if you're looking to transition, do it sooner rather than later, just because there are some hardships in that. Oh, yeah.
That your dad can't do a lot of farming. It sounds like you're extremely busy. Your brother's doing the bow hunting. So are you doing custom work for having people come in to do planting and the harvesting, or is that still something that the other?
We're doing that, yeah. We're doing it all in-house. We're not customing. We're not, no. My dad does all of our spraying. So I am super sensitive to synthetic chemicals. And when I came back, that was the stipulation. I will do all of the compost tea you want me to do. I am not dealing in the chemical side. So if he ever decides he doesn't want to do that, that will be something we hire out, just because that's not something that I'm willing to take on. But everything else, we're running smaller acres too. So that has a lot to do with it. We're not running thousands and thousands of acres. It's a much smaller scale. So we haven't had to hire out like that. But I think I'm done, right? You guys, yeah, my time is up. So thank you for talking and listening.